So it needs to come back quite a lot. So let me screw that back in. By taking this off. Good. Now, I thought this then connected to here, but it doesn't. It goes straight from the servo. Okay. So I'm going to put that in there. Twist it around. And then this piece should be okay. Then what I need to do is to glue this sliding rod into place here on this support. I'm going to use 5mm epoxy to glue that there. So I've just mixed up a tiny bit of epoxy. I've just stabbed a few holes in this paint. Put that on. And we'll measure it 35 back again. Yeah, slip forward. About there. It needs holding in situ for the next 5 minutes while it sets. I'm sure you've got better things to do than to watch me. You're not even watching me, you're watching the epoxy dry. So I'll catch you later. Well, that's done. While this was drying, I've used the Beacon foam tack and I've smeared a bead of it along the ailerons and the elevators. It dries flexible and it reinforces those foam hinges. So this side's done. What I've got to do now is this side, and I'll repeat the process. So there's no real point video in it because you know what I do. Third hole servo arm to the second hole of the aileron. First hole servo arm to the second hole of the elevator. That's all set up. So the carbon rod here, that acts like a sleeve to the push rod for the elevator. That's been tacked down with CA, and then it's had 5mm epoxy coated around it and over it. I'm going to let that dry now. When that's dried, because I don't want to mess around with it while it's still wet, we'll put these rakes in. I think they're called rakes. Some sort of stabilising fin. Well, here's where the fin goes. Now I've actually covered that up with tape. So I'm going to try and see if I can't make a slit and push it in. I'm going to have to shove that in there like that. There we are. These feel just like ply. Looks like they go in like that. Just a bit of CA, I think, along it. We'll repeat that process on this side. I didn't do this bit very well. But no one sees it, it's the belly of the beast. It's going to be covered in grass stains. Well, the wind's picked up again, so I did miss an opportunity to fly this morning, which I could kick myself for, but I'm just not with it at the moment. I'm not 100%. The last thing I want to do is do some maidens, not being 100% and prang one. So we'll wait for another day. I must make a list actually of all my maidens and then tick them off as I do them. All that's drying, gonna have a cup of tea. Cheers. We have one more thing to do. This vertical stabilizer needs to be glued in place. Let's get it done. Great glue, this foam tack. It's not cheap in the UK. I think it's an American brand. Yoo-Hoo Paw probably does exactly the same job. And I do buy Yoo-Hoo Paw, which is relatively inexpensive. But for a silly little tube like that, it costs nearly £8 UK. Leave that a while, a bit more on in there. I can just pop the hatch on, put the servos down there. Turn it round, make it look a bit better for you. As airframe construction goes, job done. The centre of gravity is 125mm from the leading edge at the root because it's a swept-back wing, and that's just on the servo. There's a little mark there. I put one of my cocktail sticks in, and I've marked that on both sides. I thought this was worth putting on video. So I'm using a Lemon RX receiver. I've got to read up how to set it up because I believe this is set up like a flying wing. It's not a V-tail, but I believe it's called Delta. So, but you don't set that up on the transmitter if you're using one of these. You set it up on the dip switches here. The other fascinating thing was it says this uses from 1000 mAh to 2200. It says if you can't quite get the centre of gravity right, then stick some counterweight on it, which I have had to do. I've got a foam block in this part of the fuselage, which means the battery has to go over to the right. This foam block is holding the battery in place. If I take this one off, that foam block, the battery itself is on a rubber mat. And this is the battery I've ended up using. It's a Radiant Super Pax 2200. So they say your batteries have to be 30C. You can see the foam block in there and the matting. So the battery goes in all the way and sits down on the matting. This block gets velcroed to the front to hold it in place. The receiver I'm still wiring up, it basically goes there. But with all that in, let me put this on. It's slightly nose heavy with the centre of gravity, which it should be. But I've had to stick 20 grams of weight to the tail. It says that high rates, the aileron needs to move 15mm up and down, and the elevator 24. Well, they're linked together. They're connected. I don't know. I just don't get it. Yeah, a few things about Freewing's manuals. It does not tell you that you need to set this up as a delta. I mean, it's sort of obvious, but they should put it in the manual, because anyone who doesn't know what to do is going to get really stuck. Yeah, the other thing is there's nothing in the manual that I can see about the speed controller wanting to have throttle set as soon as you start it up. So I was binding, getting everything ready, and I had no throttle. Just wouldn't work. So I thought that the ESC had gone faulty, and it was only through trial and error that I realised what it needs is the throttle calibration doing, which is easy enough. You bind, take the bind plug out, then you put your transmitter on, put it up to full throttle, and then connect the batteries again. You hear one beep from the ESC, and then you can shut your throttle. That's it, job done. Then it'll burst into life, but if you don't know that, you're going to be messing around. So that's my gripe over. I'm going to go and watch the Formula 1 in Germany. Not in Germany, but I'm going to watch it on my TV. Wind's far too strong to even think about going out now and doing a bit of flying. So thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you on another video. Cheers!